If you're anything like me, you want to cut to the chase and get right into the good stuff.
Yeah.
So let's do just that with Psalm 132.
Okay.
It's almost like an ancient fight song.
Yeah.
The kind of thing pilgrims heading up to Jerusalem might belt it out.
Yeah, like a hype song for a pilgrimage.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And today, our mission is to figure out what makes this psalm so powerful, especially when we think about King David,
Right.
the Ark of the Covenant, and Jerusalem itself.
Absolutely. I think the psalm really kicks off with that sense of urgency,
Okay.
We see that in David's vow in those first 5 verses.
Yeah.
This wasn't just some casual promise. He's saying he won't rest.
Right.
He won't find peace until he finds the perfect place for God.
For the mighty one of Israel.
Exactly. The mighty one of Israel. It really highlights that deep personal commitment.
Yeah, that intensity,
Yeah.
It's so striking. And then things shift a bit. In verses 6 and 7,
Right.
we hear about the ark, which represented God's presence, being mentioned in Ephrathah and then being found in this distant countryside of Jar, right? It's like this super important object had been kind of misplaced.
Right, right. It's interesting because it suggests maybe there was a time when its location wasn't widely known.
Right.
Then the rediscovery and the call to worship at God's footstool, which refers to God's dwelling place among them.
Right.
It really signals that renewed focus on God's presence.
It's such a vivid picture. And then we get to this really powerful part in verses 8 and 9.
Yeah.
There's this plea, this invocation for God to arise and enter his resting place with the ark.
Yes.
The symbol of his power.
Right. It's like this direct appeal for God to actively be involved.
Yeah. And it's not just about God showing up. It's also about the people.
Yeah.
There's this desire for the priests to be clothed in godliness.
Right.
For the faithful to sing for joy. It's like this picture of total devotion.
Absolutely. It wasn't enough to just have the ark there physically present.
Right.
The spiritual state of those serving God was super important.
It had to match that outward symbol.
Exactly. That inner life had to reflect God's presence.
And then we get to this crucial turning point in verses 10 through 12.
Yeah, the covenant with David.
The Lord promises that David's descendants will always rule.
Right, an everlasting dynasty.
But it's not a blank check. Right?
No, not at all.
It hinges on their obedience to God's covenant and his laws.
It's conditional.
So even divine promises come with strings attached.
Yeah, responsibilities.
And then boom, in verses 13 and 14, we see God choosing Jerusalem or Zion
as his eternal resting place.
He says, I will live here, for this is the home I desired.
Wow.
It really drives home the significance
of that city.
Right. It's not just any city. It's the chosen one.
Exactly. And that choice really cemented Jerusalem's importance.
Politically, religiously,
For centuries.
Yeah, for centuries. And then the psalm wraps up in verses 15 through 18.
Right.
With these beautiful blessings for Jerusalem and David's family.
Prosperity, satisfaction, godliness, joy.
Yeah. And for David specifically, his power will grow. His anointed one will be a light.
While his enemies will face shame.
It's a powerful way to end.
Absolutely. It connects God's choice of Jerusalem with the flourishing of its people.
Right.
And the enduring strength of David's lineage.
So we've uncovered a lot in this quick deep dive into Psalm 122, right?
Yeah.
We've seen David's dedication of the ark as this crucial symbol of God's presence.
The conditional covenant.
And God's choice to bless Jerusalem.
The psalm really beautifully captures that fundamental relationship.
Between God,
yeah,
his chosen leader, and his chosen city.
It's a powerful image.
It really makes you think,
yeah,
about how this ancient idea of a chosen place and a lasting promise still resonates with us today.
Right.
Regardless of our personal beliefs.
Absolutely.
We all long for stability, for a legacy,
yeah,
for a sense of belonging to something bigger than ourselves.
So true.
And this song really speaks to that longing.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to ponder.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.